Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
I've been a wedding photographer for about 5 years now, and I thought I'd seen it all. Wrong couples, bridezillas, pushy mothers-in-law, you name it. But nothing prepared me for what happened with this particular couple. Let me tell you about the day I decided to fight back against some serious entitled behavior. It started when I got an email from a woman asking about wedding photography. She said she'd seen my work online and loved my style. We set up a meeting at a local coffee shop to discuss their big day. I brought my portfolio and was ready to talk business. When I arrived, they were already there, a woman in her late 20s with perfectly styled hair and a guy who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. They introduced themselves and immediately started gushing about how amazing my photos were. I was feeling pretty good about the meeting until things took a weird turn. The woman started talking about how they were on a tight budget and wondered if I could work with them on pricing. Fair enough, I get that question a lot. I explained my packages and mentioned that I might be able to offer a small discount if they booked early, but then she dropped the bomb. She told me that her friend's cousin's sister does photography and would do it for half my price. She said they really wanted me because my work was so much better than the other person's. I tried to stay professional and explained that my pricing reflects my experience and the quality of my work. That's when things got really interesting. The woman asked me what if they didn't pay me anything at all. She said I should think about all the exposure I'd get from their wedding. I actually laughed because I thought she was joking, but the look on her face told me she was dead serious. I told her I was sorry, but I couldn't work for free. I explained that I have bills to pay just like everyone else. Her whole demeanor changed instantly. The fake smile disappeared and her voice got cold. She asked me if I wasn't willing to help them out and demanded to know if I had any idea who they were. I repeated that I really couldn't afford to work for free. That's when her partner jumped in with a real threat. He told me that they had a huge social media following and that their negative reviews could seriously damage my business. The way they looked at me when he said that, it was like they enjoyed threatening me. I could see this wasn't their first time pulling this stunt. Now, I'll be honest, that threat did worry me. As a small business owner, bad reviews can really hurt. But here's the thing, I had a secret weapon they didn't know about. A few days before our meeting, another photographer had called to warn me about this exact couple. She said they'd tried the same thing with her and several other photographers in the area. They had a whole system worked out where they'd threaten people into doing free work. Armed with this information, I came up with a plan. I set my phone to record video and placed it strategically on the table before they arrived. I wanted to catch their threats on camera. After they made their demands, I decided to play along and see how far they'd take it. I told them to give me a minute to think about it and that maybe we could work something out. They exchanged these smug looks like they'd won some kind of game. The woman asked me if I was finally being reasonable and if I would do their wedding for free. I told them I thought I could make that work, but I explained that I wanted to make sure we were both protected. I suggested that they sign something saying they wouldn't post any negative reviews about me, and in exchange I'd do their wedding for free. The guy looked hesitant, but the woman was all for it. She said that sounded fair and that they just wanted beautiful photos of their special day. They actually signed a paper agreeing not to post negative reviews in exchange for free photography. I couldn't believe how easy it was. Fast forward to their wedding day. I showed up with all my equipment, but I also brought along a video coordinator who worked at the venue. When I'd explained the situation to him, he was more than happy to help expose these scammers. The couple was all smiles, thinking they'd gotten away with their scheme. I played the part of the happy photographer, taking shots throughout the ceremony and reception. During the reception, when everyone was gathered and relaxed, I gave my partner the signal. We'd set up the venue's projector system earlier, and now it was time to use it. I announced to everyone that I wanted to share something special with them all. I approached the couple with a big smile and told them how excited I was to have captured these beautiful memories for them. The woman smirked and said it was the least I could do. I told her that she'd find the best was yet to come. That's when the video started playing on the big screen. It was the recording from the coffee shop showing them making their demands and threats. The audio was crystal clear. The entire room went silent. You could hear a pin drop when everyone watched this couple threatening me and demanding free work. The woman shouted at me asking what this was and how I dared to do this at their wedding. Her partner yelled at me to turn it off right now, but it was too late. The whole room had seen and heard everything. Guests started murmuring to each other, and some people actually got up and left. I explained that this is what happens when you try to scam and threaten small business owners. I told them their guests deserved to know what kind of people they really were. The woman tried to grab the projector remote, but the video coordinator had already secured it. The recording played all the way through, including the part where they signed the agreement. The woman screamed that I couldn't do this to them and that this was their wedding day. I told her that, actually, I could. I reminded her that she'd signed an agreement not to post negative reviews about me. I pointed out that she never said anything about me posting negative reviews about her. The room was in chaos. Some guests were angry at the couple. Others were uncomfortable with the whole situation. Several people came up to me afterward and said they were glad I exposed them. The couple tried to save face, but there was no coming back from that. Their own family members were shaking their heads in disappointment. I heard later that several people posted about what happened on social media, and the couple's reputation was completely destroyed. I packed up my equipment and left them to deal with the mess they'd created. When I walked out, I heard the woman screaming at her new husband about how this was all his fault for going along with the plan. A few weeks later, I got calls from 3 different photographers thanking me. Apparently, this couple had stopped trying to scam people after word got out about what happened at their wedding. I've been working out regularly for about 3 years now, ever since I decided to get serious about my health after college. What started as a way to lose some weight turned into a real passion for fitness. The gym became my escape from work stress, and I built a solid routine going 5 days a week. I'm a software developer, so I spend most of my days sitting at a desk. The gym helps me balance that out and keeps me sane. I've gotten to know most of the regulars over the years, and it's become like a second home to me. Everyone's usually pretty cool about sharing equipment and helping each other out. My girlfriend started coming with me about 6 months ago. She'd been wanting to get into weightlifting, and I was more than happy to show her the ropes. She's naturally athletic and picked it up fast. What I didn't know at the time was just how tough she really was. She grew up with 3 older brothers and learned to hold her own from an early age. Anyway, this particular Tuesday started like any other. I grabbed my water bottle, put on my headphones, and headed straight for the weight section. The place was moderately busy, which was normal for that time of day. I did my usual warm-up routine and was ready to hit the bench press when I noticed this woman I'd never seen before. She was probably in her 40s with bleached blonde hair and this attitude like she owned the place. She was doing squats, but what caught my attention wasn't her form. It was how she was acting, like she had claimed half the gym as her personal territory. She had dumbbells scattered around 2 different benches and was giving dirty looks to anyone who came near. Every time someone approached to grab a weight, she'd snap at them and tell them not to touch anything because she was still using the equipment between sets. I watched her pull this routine on at least 3 different people. One guy just walked away, looking confused. Another woman tried to explain that she only wanted to use the 15-pound dumbbells for a quick set, but this lady wasn't having it. She told the woman she didn't care what she wanted to use them for and to find her own weights. I rolled my eyes and tried to ignore her. There was an open bench about 10 feet away from where she was camped out, so I figured I'd just do my workout and stay out of her way. I loaded up the bar with my usual weight and started my first set. That's when she noticed me. I was maybe halfway through my second set when she came walking over. She had this look on her face like I'd just insulted her mother. She yelled at me that she was using that bench and that I needed to wait for her to finish. I sat up and looked around, genuinely confused. She was clearly using the bench about 10 feet away, not the one I was on. I told her there were plenty of other benches available and that I'd be done in a few minutes so she could use it then. She said that People like me think we can just take whatever we want and reminded me that she pays for her gym membership too. The way she said you people really rubbed me the wrong way, but I was trying to keep things peaceful. I could see other gym members starting to look over at us. I told her I'd be done in a moment and pointed out that she already had one bench at her disposal, so I didn't understand why she was bothering me about this one. She gave me this look like I'd said the most ridiculous thing in the world. She told me first that it was none of my business, and second that she does different types of exercises on each bench. I muttered that her reasoning was complete nonsense. That's when things really started to escalate. She was getting louder, and more people were starting to stare. I noticed my girlfriend had stopped her workout and was watching from across the room. My girlfriend has always been protective, but she usually lets me handle my own problems. I could tell she was getting annoyed by how this woman was acting, though. She'd been watching her hassle other people for the past 20 minutes. Finally, my girlfriend had enough. She walked over with that calm but determined look I'd learned to recognize. She told the woman to chill out and reminded her that we were all here to work out and share the equipment. Karen wasn't about to back down. She whipped around and looked at my girlfriend, telling her that this didn't concern her and to mind her own business. My girlfriend took a deep breath. I could tell she was trying to keep her cool. She explained that it was everyone's business when someone was making a scene and ruining the gym's atmosphere, and suggested we all just get back to our workouts. Karen completely ignored her and turned back to me. I was lying on my back, about to start another set, when she did something I'll never forget. She walked over to the dumbbell rack and picked up a 40-pound weight. Then she came back and stood right next to my bench, holding it above her head. She threatened to drop the dumbbell on my face if I didn't stop right now and walk away from what she called her bench. The entire gym went silent. I was lying there completely vulnerable, and this crazy woman was literally threatening to drop a heavy weight on my head. My heart was racing, but I couldn't move without risking making her actually do it. That's when my girlfriend moved faster than I'd ever seen her move before. In one fluid motion, she grabbed the dumbbell from Karen's hands and tossed it safely to the side. Then, without hesitation, she delivered a perfect right hook to the side of Karen's head. Karen dropped like a sack of potatoes. I sat up immediately, my hands shaking from the adrenaline. My girlfriend was standing over Karen, who was completely unconscious on the floor. She declared that nobody threatens her boyfriend. Nobody. The gym manager came running over, along with several other members who had witnessed everything. Someone had already called the police, and within minutes, the place was buzzing with activity. When the cops arrived, they took statements from everyone who saw what happened. The security footage backed up our story completely. You could clearly see Karen threatening me with a dumbbell and my girlfriend's defensive reaction. The officer explained that from what they could see, my girlfriend was defending me from what appeared to be assault with a deadly weapon. The woman had made a clear threat and had the means to carry it out. The paramedics arrived to check on Karen, who was still unconscious but breathing normally. When they loaded her onto a stretcher, she started to come around. She asked what happened and why her head hurt. The paramedic told her she'd been knocked unconscious and that they needed to take her to the hospital for observation. When she asked who had knocked her out and saw my girlfriend, her memory seemed to come flooding back. She accused my girlfriend of assaulting her and said she was pressing charges. The officer told her that, actually, she was the one who would be facing charges. They had multiple witnesses and video footage of her threatening me with a weapon. The gym manager banned Karen on the spot, and the police took her information before she was transported to the hospital. Over the next few weeks, the legal process played out exactly as it should have. Karen was charged with assault, making criminal threats, and disorderly conduct. Her lawyer tried to argue that she was just having a bad day and didn't mean any real harm, but the video evidence was too clear. The judge wasn't buying it. During the trial, witness after witness testified about her aggressive behavior that day. The prosecution pointed out that a 40-pound dumbbell dropped from that height could have caused serious brain injury or even death. The judge told Karen that her actions that day were reckless and dangerous. She had put multiple people at risk and created a hostile environment in what should be a safe space for everyone. Karen was sentenced to 3 years in prison and mandatory anger management counseling. The judge specifically noted that her use of gym equipment as a weapon made this a particularly serious offense. My girlfriend faced no charges since she was clearly acting in defense of another person. The district attorney's office said it was a textbook case of justified force. The whole experience brought us closer together. I already knew my girlfriend was special, but seeing her step up to protect me like that really showed me what kind of person she was. She didn't hesitate for a second when she saw I was in real danger. The gym got back to normal pretty quickly after that. If anything, people were more friendly and respectful than before. Word got around about what happened and nobody wanted to be the next person to cause problems. I still work out at the same gym, and people occasionally ask me about the incident. My girlfriend has become something of a legend there. People joke that she's the unofficial gym security, but she just laughs it off. The whole thing was a reminder that you never know what someone is capable of when they're pushed too far. Karen thought she could intimidate people and get away with it, but she picked the wrong person to mess with that day. I'm just grateful nobody got seriously hurt and that the right thing happened. I need to tell you about something that happened when I was teaching at a primary school in Dublin. This was back when I was working in one of those inner city schools where most of my students were from immigrant families. These kids had been through a lot moving to a new country, learning a new language, trying to fit in, but they were tough as nails and had more heart than any group of kids I'd ever taught. I've been teaching them about Irish culture and sports, and one day I decided to sign them up for the primary school Gaelic football tournament. Now, if you don't know Gaelic football, it's one of Ireland's national sports. It's like a mix of soccer, basketball, and rugby all rolled into one. You've got 15 players on each team and you score by either kicking the ball over the crossbar for 1 point or into the net for 3 points. The team with the most points after 70 minutes wins. The thing is, most of these lads had never even seen Gaelic football before, let alone played it. When I first tried to teach them the rules, they looked at me like I was speaking another language. It took weeks of practice just to get them to understand the basics, but these kids were determined. They practiced every day after school, falling down, getting back up, learning bit by bit. After months of training, we somehow made it to the semi-finals. Our opponents were a team from South Dublin, one of those posh private schools where the parents drive expensive cars and the kids have never wanted for anything. I knew we were outmatched in terms of skill, but Gaelic football isn't just about ability, it's about heart, and my boys had plenty of that. The day of the match arrived and we loaded onto the bus. The boys were nervous but excited. When we got to the pitch, I could immediately see the difference between our teams. Their kids had brand new gear, professional coaching, and parents who looked like they'd stepped out of a magazine. Our boys had hand-me-down jerseys and boots held together with tape. The game started evenly enough. My boys were holding their own, playing with everything they had. But about 20 minutes in, I started hearing things from the sidelines that made my blood boil. The parents from the posh team were shouting racial slurs at my players, disgusting comments about where they came from, telling them to go back to their own countries. The words were so vile I won't repeat them here. My boys heard it too. I could see it affecting them, their confidence starting to shake. By halftime, the posh team was ahead by 2 or 3 points. During the break, I pulled my team together and told them not to let those people get in their heads. I reminded them that they'd worked too hard to get here to give up now, but I knew words weren't enough. I walked over to the other team's coach, a man in an expensive tracksuit who was pretending not to hear what his supporters were saying. I told him he needed to tell his supporters to behave themselves, or my lads would put his team in their place. The coach just looked at me with this smug expression and said nothing. He clearly thought his team was untouchable. When we lined up for the second half, one of my players, a boy who was built like a brick wall despite being only 12, came up to me. He was the strongest kid I'd ever taught, so muscular that I had to bring his passport to every game to prove he wasn't 15. He looked directly at the boy who'd been marking him, whose parents had been some of the loudest with their racist comments. The kid told me that after this match, he was going to flatten that boy. I probably shouldn't have said what I said next, but I was angry. These kids had faced enough discrimination in their lives. They didn't need to take it on a football pitch too. I told him to make sure he did exactly that. The second half was incredible. My boys played like they were possessed. Every tackle, every pass, every kick was fueled by pure determination. They weren't just playing for points anymore, they were playing for respect. With 5 minutes left, we managed to take the lead by a single point. When the final whistle blew, we'd done it. We'd actually won. But my strongest player hadn't forgotten what he'd promised. When the referee's whistle sounded, he walked straight up to his marker and hit him so hard the boy went down like a sack of potatoes. The kid would probably have a black eye for about a week. That's when all hell broke loose. My boys had a rule: if one of them got hit or had to hit someone, they all did. Within seconds, the entire pitch erupted. My team was systematically working their way through the posh boys. And let me tell you, it wasn't even close to a fair fight. These immigrant kids had learned to fight for everything they had. The strongest boy, after dealing with his marker, walked straight over to the parents who'd been shouting slurs. He told them exactly what he thought of them, calling them jerks and worse. The parents started with more racial comments, which was a mistake. My boy punched the nearest one right in the stomach. The man doubled over, gasping for air. The kid was about to continue when I finally managed to pull him away. Getting back to the bus was a nightmare. The entitled parents had actually formed a human blockade, screaming about how we were savages and demanding we be disqualified. They held up our bus for 5 minutes, banging on the windows and shouting threats. We were halfway home when the police pulled us over. My heart sank. I thought we were about to be arrested. But when the officer stepped onto the bus, it was actually the referee from the match. He told us he wanted to congratulate the boys for standing up to those parents. He said what they had said was completely unacceptable, but asked the boys to try to control their tempers in future matches. He winked at me and left. Turns out he'd been just as disgusted by the parents' behavior as we were. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.